I am so sad. I cannot believe the big, ugly, dead-ass bill was approved in America. Like, I am shocked.
This bill is an absolute betrayal of the American people.
We're fucked. There's really no other way to say it. The one big bucket of bullshit bill has passed the House today, Thursday, July 3rd.
Did y'all hear how Trump's big bullshit bill passed? 4 House Republicans changed their votes to yes after Trump gave them signed MAGA hats and selfies.
Because how many MAGA assholes are on Medicaid? I'd be really interested to know the actual statistics, but I'm sure plenty of them are.
This is how it went.
Why are you voting for Trump for? Because I'm fucking tired of being broke!
And this is how it's going.
I've been fucking pumped for this no tax on overtime. I've been fucking ecstatic, dude. I know America's been waiting on this shit. Everybody's been bragging. Man, I can't wait. I'm gonna have so much extra money. It's gonna, bring in so much more money per month. Wrong.
We don't want to hear shit when you lose your Medicaid. We don't want to hear shit when you lose your SNAP. We don't want to hear shit from those states when FEMA doesn't show up for your tornadoes, hurricanes, and floods this year. We don't want to hear shit when you figure out that those tax breaks are not for you, but they're for the rich. We don't want to hear shit when you figure out that no tax on tips and overtime ain't even real. We don't want to hear shit when you figure out that he is increasing the debt ceiling by trillions of dollars, which is going to cost us a lot. Because we try to tell you. So you're excited about this bill passing? Just remember when all that shit happens to you to not open your fucking mouth.
Well, they passed it. They passed the budget bill. There's been a lot of arguments over what this bill has been called. The president wanted to call it the one big beautiful bill because of how many things it does in a single document. Other people have called it the big ugly bill. But I think it should be referred to as the bill, because that's exactly what it's going to do to so many Americans. It's going to make them die slow in front of our very eyes. Millions of people are going to be cut off of Medicaid, which is a different name in every single state. Some of you don't even know that your family members are on Medicaid. In Pennsylvania, it's called medical assistance. In other places, it has other different names, so that way they could pretend that the federal government wasn't helping their citizens. SNAP benefits are going to be gutted for millions of people, which means more people are going to be hungry and desperate. Other things that kept people from having to make tough decisions, very tough decisions, are now going to be ripped from their hands. And why? For austerity. That's what they're going to call it. They're going to call it austerity for poor people, for working people. But for the most ostentatious people, there is no austerity. For people with billionaire foam party yachts, for people who get to wakeboard on their private Hawaiian islands, for everyone on the Epstein list, all of them, they get to live lavish lifestyles because their tax cuts have been locked in. There are so many things in this giant bill that have made sure that so many of us will die slow. But it doesn't matter because Republicans got theirs. Donald Trump is going to sign this bill on the 249th anniversary of Americans' Declaration of Independence from a tyrant. And he'll be handed the bill by J.D. Vance, a man who claimed that he was an Ohio hillbilly who has done nothing but destroy the very place that brought him to the dance.
Guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Chintok Stories. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. In today's video, we're going to discuss something that I believe, again, it's important because this is now, it's happening at the peril of every American who is watching this video right now. And I know that somewhere, somehow, you are affected by the country's economy and how the economy of this country is being driven now. This is the thing. There has been discussion about the big, beautiful bill, something that was sarcastically brought up because people are not happy by what they're seeing. Majority of white Americans generally, and the entire America, is not happy about what is happening to them. But at the end of the day, we are seeing a lot of things that are happening. For example, the Medicare and Medicaid is being slashed out of everyone's premise, and these are things that helped middle-class America. And then you might ask yourself, what is this government trying to do? The government is trying to wipe out the middle class. Wipe out the middle class, at least what America was trying to do. Remember the American dream that if you work hard, you're going to be getting what you are working hard for. when Mr. Donald Trump came with this bill, which its main function was to wipe out the middle class Americans. And this is what it meant. This meant that there was nothing like meritocracy. There is nothing like, working hard and being a person that you want to be in the dream. Of course, we have people that still will do and will work for them, but this doesn't apply to a lot of Americans, because today the United States is being run by millionaires, multi-millionaire corporations that are doing all this, and it's making life so hard for everyone. And at this point of discussion, we might ask ourselves, when did America get into this? Because this is a question that we need to ask ourselves. When was the United States people ask themselves this question: where did rain started beating America? That's the biggest question, because majority of this problem that people are seeing today was being caused by white America, by deciding to vote for whom they decided to vote for. But again, you're seeing this affecting them big time, right? Now, I'm going to be talking about something really about this big, beautiful bill as a symbol of economic backlash, because everyone right now is calling it the big, beautiful bill. The phrase big, beautiful bill echoes Donald Trump's habit of using superlatives to sell policies, like his promise of a big, beautiful wall. But now, many white Americans are receiving big, beautiful bills in the forms of healthcare expenses, utility, education costs, grocery, and rent. The rising costs exacerbates the deregulation, corporation tax cuts, and weakened safety nets. These are not accidental. They are predictable consequences of political ideology that prioritizes private profit, over public welfare, an ideology that white voters have historically empowered at the ballot box. Buckle up for this video. I'm your host and presenter, WEAK.white Stories. If you're watching us for the first time, I'll ask you to subscribe to the channel, join our membership, and really get to see what we can offer you. But until then, let's get into it. I'll be back with my commentary as usual.
This is how it went.
Why are you voting for Trump for? Because I'm fucking tired of being broke.
And this is how it's going.
I've been fucking pumped for this no tax on overtime. I've been fucking ecstatic, dude. I know America's been waiting on this shit. Everybody's been bragging. Man, I can't wait. I'm gonna have so much extra money. It's gonna, bring in so much more money per month. Wrong. I did the fine print looking. It is not fucking gonna help us month to month. It's not gonna help you check none. They're still gonna tax the fuck out of your goddamn check.
Buddy, you voted for the man who lied over 33,000 times while in his first term, has conned people his whole entire life, and you yourself expected not to get lied to and conned? Well, I guess this is what it looks like when a Trump supporter decides to wake up, take the boot out of his mouth, and realize, yo, we were right. Donald Trump's only interest is giving tax breaks to his billionaire best friends while screwing over the middle class. We told you that. You said, ain't no way that a billionaire and his best friend, the richest man in the world, won't have the middle class's best interest in mind. And we said you were crazy, and you said we were fear-mongering, and here we are, and you're regretting this, which is very interesting. And a cherry on top for you really quick, coal miners. Donald Trump took away your guys' black lung screening. It's a disease that you guys are very susceptible to. In West Virginia, he took away the black lung screening. That was free and accessible to you guys for a long time. It's been a benefit for a long time. He took that away. So that is just a cherry on top of me trying to let you know that Donald Trump does not give a damn about the working class, and he never has. My name is Mercedes Chandler. Give me a follow, or you won't see my face again. Thank you. Goodbye.
I am so sad. I cannot believe the big, ugly, dead-ass bill was approved in America. Like, I am shocked. I'm shocked that that was approved by people that were voted in to represent Americans. I cannot believe that they just voted to approve ICE to go from being funded $10 billion to $100 billion. You're just like, how could people vote for that? How could people vote for that? How could people sleep at night? How could they vote for that? I think that I am grieving America. I am grieving The America that I used to know, that used to be heroes, that used to be like the good guy. I mean, they were arrogant, but they weren't evil. And those people that voted to increase funding for ICE from $10 billion to $100 billion, to take healthcare insurance away from 10 million Americans, to take food away from children. They're the bad guys.
Maybe when your neighbors are dying in the streets, maybe that will wake people up. Maybe when people are getting foreclosed on in their homes, maybe that will wake people up and there are no resources to turn to. Maybe when you have to take in all of your elderly relatives because their nursing homes are being shut down, maybe that's when people wake up. Maybe when children in your community are starving and malnourished. There's already 1 in 10 children in the United States facing food insecurity. Maybe that will wake people up. Maybe when you have to drive 3 hours away to go to a hospital because they're closing rural hospitals left and right with this bill, maybe that will wake people up. I don't know what it's going to take to wake people up to the conditions of so many people living in this country. Maybe we'll wake up.
That bill is passed. Over $900 billion in Medicaid cuts. SNAP is being cut. Student loans, Pell Grants, harder to get. ICE is about to be the biggest law enforcement group in the country. ICE. There's $100 trillion going to the defense, and the 1% is about to live their best life like they've been doing this whole time. Hospitals are about to start shutting down, which some of them have already prepared to start shutting down. It's going to be harder for a lot of people now. A lot of people are about to die, and that's not even a joke. And it makes me sad because a lot of y'all MAGA people, y'all voted for this man because he was a white man and he had how many felonies and how many failed businesses, but it didn't matter. Because I would rather vote for the white man who has no experience and is not here for the whole American body than vote for a black woman who's had the experience her whole life and actually wanted us to do better. Wanted better for America. And for all the Republicans, y'all spineless POSs, y'all, I hope y'all get unseated. I really do. But for everybody else, we tried. We did the best we could. We did the best we could. Primaries is what's next. I'm taking a break. I need a break from this app. I need a break from everything. Because I feel like November all over again when Republicans were saying that, oh, Project 2025 isn't real. It's not real. It doesn't exist. And then turn around and after he won, it's real. And now they're saying, oh, we are touching Medicaid. Now they admit it after they passed the bill. So y'all dummies, y'all fell for it again. Congratulations, y'all screwed all of America.
Fucking did it. The House passed the big ugly bill. A legislative middle finger to the working class, the poor, the sick, and the elderly. And while the rich are popping champagne, the rest of you are about to drown in the consequences you voted for, ignored, or helped manifest through performative bullshit. Republican senators and representatives just screwed over their own constituents. And red states? Many of the poorest in the country are getting crushed first. So let me speak clearly to every single group that brought us to this point. To every Trump voter. Fuck off. You voted for this. You weren't conned. You weren't tricked. You knew exactly what he stood for. Cruelty, greed, corruption, and you wanted more. Well, here it is. Your rural hospitals are shutting down. Your grandma's nursing home is going under. Your insulin's about to cost more than your rent. You dragged us all the way down with you. And I hope you feel every goddamn consequence. No sympathy, just suffering. You earned it. To everyone who didn't vote, fuck off. You sat on your hands while the house was on fire. You thought silence made you neutral? It didn't. It made you complicit. You had power and refused to use it. So next time your community loses access to healthcare, your rent skyrockets, or your elderly parents can't find a bed in a nursing home, shut the fuck up. You let this happen. To the uncommitted crowd, kiss my entire ass. You threw a tantrum in a burning house. You withheld support in a two-party system like it was a badge of honor, while fascists waltz in through the front door. You didn't force anyone's hand. You didn't move the needle. You just cleared the path for disaster. When Medicaid vanishes, when your rights shrink, when lives fall apart, know that you helped light the fuse. To every anti-Kamala leftist, fuck all the way off. You're not revolutionaries. You're not fighting the system. You're just bitter, sanctimonious edgelords who hate seeing a black woman in power more than you hate fascism. You'll write 17-paragraph posts on grammar and tone, while Republicans strip bodily autonomy, crush healthcare, and drown us in debt. You're not allies. You're fucking dead weight. Get out of the lane. We're done coddling your smug inaction. This bill isn't conservative policy. It's legislative warfare. The top 1%, $75,000 in annual tax breaks. And the top 0.1%, 6 figures, easy. Regular people, a few $100, maybe. Low-income families, punished with red tape and bureaucratic landmines. And Medicaid, it's not just being slashed. It's being gutted. $1.3 trillion erased. Hospitals, bankrupt. ERs, shuttered. Nursing homes, collapsing. All so Republicans can tongue-kiss billionaires and call it policy. This bill punishes the very people who voted for it. Poorer red states, rural towns, elderly voters who backed Trump thinking he gave a damn. And guess what? You weren't tricked. You were thrilled. So yes, I hope you suffer deeply. I hope you choke on every cut you cheered for. I hope you watch your towns dry up. Your parents turned away from care. Your neighbors die waiting for Medicaid approvals. Because this is what you wanted. And now you get to live it. This isn't just failure. This is sabotage. Designed, deliberate, and devastating. And to everyone who helped make it possible, whether you voted for Trump, didn't vote at all, played uncommitted politics, or sabotaged the left from inside, you can all go fuck yourself.
Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing great from wherever you're watching me from. I'm your host and presenter Eugene Stories. Well, I'm hoping that you're doing fine. Welcome back to this discussion that I feel like it's really important for us to have to come and talk about this. First things first, the role of political short-termism, right? Trump and many Republican politicians campaigned on lowering taxes and slashing regulations, promising immediate reliefs. These moves were framed as common sense, which fixes government overreach. But they came with long-term consequences. First, rising national debt. 2, underfunded public services. 3, inflammatory pressures. Now, when white voters see their property taxes rise to fill budget gaps or insurance premiums spikes because of deregulation healthcare markets, they are confronting the cost of those short-term political choices. Because this is what that they voted. But again, it is their money that is being slashed out to fund all these things, because the United States is becoming a corporate country. Why am I saying a corporate country? It prioritizes private profit over the commonwealth of middle-class American. Because the main goal of these, of all this, is to do away with the middle-class American. And now people are grappling with all these bills, tax cuts for big corporates, while the middle-class American is really struggling even to pay their houses. And it's getting really hard for everyone because white people decided to do what they decided to do. I'm talking about the regulation and shift of costs to consumers. One key element of conservative economic policy has been the regulation, first of utilities, pharmaceuticals, education, and housing. While the regulation often benefits corporations, it shifts risks and costs onto individuals. Electric companies charge more during climate crisis. Insulin prices soar. Rent control vanishes and tuitions skyrockets, these outcomes are anomalies. They are feature of the market-first ideology. The complaint about big bills is delayed realization that free market dogma often translates into higher costs of ordinary people. That's how it happens. Also, let's talk about the white working class identity and government skepticism. Many white working class Americans have long been taught to distrust government, associating it with welfare for others, particularly black government, black and brown people, while seeing themselves as self-reliant. This ideology framing reinforces a decades of right-wing media and cultural messaging made them vulnerable to anti-tax and anti-regulation propaganda. But now that bridges are crumbling, healthcare is unaffordable, and wages are stagnant. And they are realizing that their distrust of government has left them defenseless in the face of corporate greed, because it has always been about the corporate greed. Over time, there is something that still remains as a cultural act for white people. Scholars like Thomas Frank, who talked about what's the matter with Kansas and the early Child, Stranger in Their Own Land. If you look at these books, these have shown that many white voters support policies that harm them economically because of cultural identity. They vote for candidates who promise to defend traditional values, rural identity, gun rights, or Christian morality, even if those same candidates dismantle healthcare and education system they rely on. The complaints about economic hardship reflect a reckoning. Cultural comfort did not protect them from material decline. Right? This is just a critique. And we have writers like scholars like Thomas Frank and Ali Child, Strangers in Their Own Land. Right? These are things that has happened to a lot of Americans. Let's talk about the displacement of blame. Rather than acknowledging the role their voting choices played, many white Americans redirect the blame to immigrants first, to black communities, China, or liberal elites. This displacement is politically useful for those in power. It prevents class solidarity and redirects frustration away from the capitalist class. The big, beautiful bill is thus experienced as an injustice, but not always as a wake-up call to question capitalism or conservative economics. Many are still trapped in scapegoat politics. I like to talk about the myth of tax cuts helping the working class. The myth of tax cuts helping the working class. Now, Trump's 2017 Tax Cuts and Job Act was sold as boon for middle-class families. In reality, the overwhelming majority of its benefits went to the wealthiest American and large corporations. Meanwhile, essentials deductions were removed and federal deficits ballooned, laying the groundwork for the future cuts to Medicare, Social Security, and public education. While voters are now feeling the squeeze, they're feeling the squeeze, they're grappling with the fact that those tax policies did not enrich them. They enriched billionaires and CEOs. And that's how the game has always been played. Let's talk about the erosion of public service and local tax hikes. As federal funding for education, infrastructure, and healthcare declines, local governments must raise revenue through property taxes, sales taxes, and user fees. Rural and suburban white communities, many of which have aging populations and shrinking tax bases, are especially vulnerable. They supported candidates promising to cut government waste, only to discover that those cuts affect school budgets, ambulance services, libraries, and public utilities. The bill they now face is in part a product of those fiscal decisions. I would like to talk about healthcare costs as a national wake-up call. Now, the big, beautiful bill is a metaphor, more literal than in healthcare. Even with insurance, many Americans face deductibles in the thousands. Medication costs are unaffordable. The hospitals are closing in rural areas. Trump and GOP leaders are dismantling the Affordable Care Act without offering a comprehensive replacement. For white Americans who believed government-run healthcare was for others, the skyrocketing costs of medical care is exposing the myth that the private market will protect them. I'd also like to address the inflation and wage stagnation. They are inversely proportional, right? They should be directly proportional, just like a normal working country. Many white Americans feel betrayed because their wages have remained stagnant while the cost of living has soared high. But again, the policies they supported, anti-union legislation, deregulation industries, corporate bailouts, directly suppressed wage growth and empowered monopolies. Republicans promised economic revival through corporate tax cuts, but the results were stock buybacks and executive bonuses. Now better paychecks for working families. The economy grew on paper, but households' budget got tighter. Let's talk about a crisis of belief and political identity. The growing frustration of a rising bill is not just economic. It is existential. White Americans who believe they were the backbone of the country, the deserving middle class, are now confronting decline. This creates a crisis of identity. Some respond by doubting down on culture wars and blaming marginalized groups. Others begin to question the system itself. The moment of contradiction, where the pain contradicts the narrative, opens up the possibility of political transformation. But it also risks deeper entrenchment into reactionary politics if not met with critical education. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the possibility for a new political consciousness. The pain of Big Beautiful Bill could lead to new alliances and political awakening. If white Americans begin to recognize that they are not suffering because of immigrants or diversity, but because of policies rooted in neoliberalism, deregulation, and corporate control, they might start to build solidarity with others who have long borne the brunt of these policies. That is the crossroads America stands at. Repeat the cycle of scapegoating and denial, or build a multiracial working class movement for economic justice. I'm your host and presenter, Eugene Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.